I'm Logan Webb, and you're listening to TortureCast.
Swinging. There's a high drive. Deep into left center field. It's on its way. Adios! Pelota!
Let's go Giants! SF Giants! Let's go Giants! SF Giants!
A grand slam for Buster Posey's good friend.
A podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Chad King, Eric Nathanson, and Willie Dills. This is the TortureCast.
It's Thursday, May 7th, 2026, and this is episode 338 of the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. I'm your host, Chad, and Eric Nathanson is with me. And I don't know, what's this sound remind you of? He's stunned.
Damn, am I supposed to respond? I didn't hear the sound.
Oh, and now he doesn't hear the sound. So much for the technical glitch I thought was solved. See, that's the problem with live and recorded radio. Anyway, no, that was the sound of a car crashing. And so Eric didn't hear that. So I can describe the picture to him. But I think he's going to imagine what that car crash represents that we're going to talk about today. So go ahead, take it away, Eric.
Oh, my God. That's car crash is the perfect description of this season. I am with you 100% there. Like, I'm getting delirious now with how bad they are. Like, the apathy is starting to get strong, but I'm sure some passion will come out today.
Some passion, huh? Yeah. We'll see about that. This is, it's been bad. It's been bad. As you've probably noticed, it's been almost 2 weeks since we recorded. We were supposed to do one last week and have one or two summaries in there, but schedules got in the way, but also the Giants started playing worse. And I'll be honest with you, and Eric is right there with me, a little hard to summarize after two consecutive sweeps. And at this point, they've lost 8 out of 9. So I don't know how much people want to hear about scoring like 2 runs in a series or losing 3 out of 5 games in heartbreaking walk-off fashion. I don't know how many more times we can be gut punched by this team in such a short amount of time. I will say this. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about the 2017 season because that was a really bad one. But this is probably the worst, or at least the second worst I have ever seen this team play, Eric, since I can remember. And I mean, I was very young during the 1984 season, so that one is a little hard to compare to because I didn't really follow the team like I do now statistically. But in my adult life, this is pretty much the worst I've ever seen this team play.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Also, don't really remember that other team. 17 is one that you compare it to, and that was a surprise because, they just made the playoffs in 16. This year, it was supposed to just be about, rookie manager getting his feet wet, a few bumps along the way, not, catastrophe, because 14-23 is a disaster after 37 games. I can't recall seeing a team with no direction as much as I do this one that we're watching right now. So I got to say, Chad, this is the most frustrating start to a Giants season that we could have absolutely expected.
Yeah, it's as bad as it gets. I mean, right now in their current format, the Giants have had one season that was worse after 37 games, and that was 2017. They were one game worse. They were 13-24. Right now they're 14-23. In 1985, they were 14-23. So technically, this ties for the second worst start in franchise history. Their final record in 2017, they lost 98. In 85, they lost 100. This does not bode well. I don't think a team that starts 14-23 has aspirations of 500, let alone the playoffs. They've put themselves in such a dramatic hole. And I will say that it's not like, well, they've had some bad luck. Well, they've lost a couple of close ones. Well, once things turn around. No, not at all. I mean, they're dead last in the NL West. They're dead last in all of Major League Baseball. I think they're like a few percentage points ahead of the Mets. So they're technically tied with the Mets for the worst record in all of baseball. This is bad. And they're on pace right now for 102 losses. They've lost 8 out of 9. Those 9 games, they hit 200. They averaged 2 runs a game. Their on-base percentage was .236, Eric. Only 4 home runs and only 14 walks in 9 games. I mean, it's just, it goes on and on and on. And when you look at their MLB ranks in all offensive categories for the 37 games, they are dead last in home runs, runs, walks, OPS, on-base percentage, and stolen bases. And when you look at not just the leaders, but just the league average, they're not even close, man. Like, they are not even close to league average. So I don't know what to say about this team. They are underperforming to an extent I never expected. And they only have 3 more games until they hit the 25% mark, right? Which is 40. That is a huge indication. It kind of gives you the vibe of the team and the direction it's going. You know, in the first week or two, it's like, well, you know, it's just a little bad start. We'll get going here. When you're a quarter of the way through the season, Eric, and you've been relatively healthy, this does not bode well.
No, and the question becomes why? Why are these players not performing? Is it a brand new coaching staff? Is it because of Tony V making the jump? I mean, while I do want to dump on Tony a little, I think he's had his rough moments. You cannot personally point the finger at him for a 14-23 record. These guys are professional baseball players. They should be putting the ball in play more, or at least taking more walks, or at least putting better swings on things. So the question is, why are they in this position? And then how do they fix it? It's very, very difficult to look at this roster and be like, okay, 1 or 2 things that can be tweaked and it can absolutely be fixed. Like, this is just a combined failure on everybody's part, from the top down. I mean, you can't talk about it without pointing out that Posey and Manaison did not necessarily stock the roster with the right kind of talent that they needed, you know. And it's tough for a college coach to come in for a team full of established veterans. So maybe that's not working right. And then the lineup construction has been crazy. We never know from day to day what it's going to be. You know, they have to squeeze Casey Schmidt in wherever they can. Eldridge is now here, which creates a world of different, you know, problems and possibilities. So it's why did this happen and how do they fix it? And the only why I can come up with is the players are just not performing. They just really aren't. Rafael Devers, Willie Adames, Matt Chapman, Ilio Ramos, across the board. I mean, Casey Schmidt with his 6 homers has been a beautiful surprise. Yeah. Next highest on the club is 3. Andy Pages hit 3 home runs in the game 2 days ago. He'd be second on the team in home runs if he only played that one game. So how do you fix it? I'm not sure. But that's the big question that comes out of this, because you're right. You can't look at it like you're going to contend. Last week, about a week and a half ago after the Marlins series, I did a solo recap of that series. Right. And I talked about how the Giants were 2 games under 500. So if they just go have a decent week on the road, they're in position to get back to 500. Then they went 0-6 in 8 of their last 9, lost 8 of their last 9. And it's just, it doesn't even feel competitive half the time. It really, really doesn't. It's the bats. They're just not getting the job done. These professional hitters are not hitting the ball. I mean, Chad, I saw you move down to it just now. I mean, like, the pitching's been there, and that's been fun to watch, but the hitting is just not coming through. And I don't know. I mean, that many fewer walks than anybody else, that's a symptom of something else. I mean, do you have any idea what the disease is, or is this something that's going to take them a couple months to figure out?
I don't know if they are going to figure it out. I don't think these players who are operating at career lows, all of them except Casey Schmidt, basically, I don't think they can play a full season at such low levels. Do I really think that Adames is going to hit under 200 for the year? Do I really think that Rafael Devers is going to end up with 12 home runs, which he's on pace for? I don't think so. That said, again, a quarter of the season is huge. That is a huge part of the season. Yeah. And so although they still have the majority of the season left, and of course, if 3 of these guys get hot for like a month, it's really going to be a salve to what they're going through right now. But I don't know why, and you just brought up the pitching. Their record is fueled by their lack of hitting 100%. Like I just read, they're last in all of these categories. If you look at their pitching, they're kind of solidly in the middle. They're like 12th in ERA, 12th in batting average against, all these other stats. They're kind of just above or just below league average. So I'd call them league average for pitching right now. So that's not the issue. Despite the fact that you can point to how the bullpen did blow a few games on that road trip, 2 to the Phillies and 1 to the Marlins, which it was hard. It was hard to watch. And I have a little clip I'm going to play a little bit later about Ryan Walker and some of the frustrations from Mike Krukow there. But those,
I've got frustrations. Those are Tony. Those are Tony issues.
Yes.
I don't even blame the guys in the bullpen. Those were Tony issues. Tony did not set this team up to succeed during that last road trip. He does not know who's coming out of the bullpen, and he needs to look at it and see that some of these guys are hot. Like you said, they are average, but some of the bullpen guys have been a little bit above average. But he keeps going to the other ones. Sorry, I had to interrupt because that was a Tony thing, not as much a pitching thing.
No, we'll get back to that in just a second because I do want to hear that. Statistically, they're kind of in the middle, but you can point the finger at Tony for some of the decisions he made in these tight games. But the problem is that they have too many of these tight games. So the chances that they have to win games are when they're leading by a very little amount late in games. And so it's a lot of pressure on the bullpen, especially it's magnified, I think, because they're not winning games. Because, oh my God, we have a chance of winning? Oh no. And maybe butt cheeks clench up. I don't know, because they have not been winning games at all, let alone winning games by 3, 4, 5 runs. They've been losing games by 3, 4, 5, 7 runs. But when they have a chance to win, they're always tied or up by 1 or 2. And it just puts so much pressure on the bullpen. And you're right. I think Tony pushed the wrong buttons. And so you were texting me and Willie during the Philly. I mean, that was brutal, Eric. Like a day-night doubleheader, and you lose both in that fashion. It was Ann Killian wrote that she has not seen a worse complete day for a major league team ever in her career. And she's been doing this for like 25, 30 years. And I don't know if that's hyperbole or not. It's certainly one of the worst day of Giants baseball I can remember as an adult. I mean, it's one thing to, like losing game 6 of the 2002 World Series in the Angels. Obviously that like a single game, that's probably near the top for me, right? But as far as just a regular season day, I don't see how it gets much worse than that other than like Posey going down from his injury and those kinds of things. But as far as just baseball in the field, how did you feel that day? And take me through what you were thinking with those moves in the late part of the games.
Well, my tweet from that night, which caught a little traction, was today was far and away Tony Vitello's worst day as a big league manager. He did not utilize lefty matchups against Schwarber when he had the opportunity. He painted himself into a corner by having certain guys face other guys. It was the most embarrassing day of baseball. I agree with that. It really was. It felt like, you're watching a team that doesn't know what the F it's doing. And they had that second game of the doubleheader. I'm looking at it now. I mean, they had a chance to win that game. Mm-hmm. They scored enough to do it for the Giants. And then just the direction that Tony seems to go with the bullpen, he brings guys in one batter too late. He leans too much on Baraki, and in the first game, Walker. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where it comes from. Let's be honest, Ryan Walker is not a closer.
No.
The guy should never see the ninth inning. He doesn't know where the ball is going. He should not be trusted to save. You should be trying out Wynn and Killian and Miller when he's healthy as the back end guy. Even Santos and Peguero with the way they throw the ball. It's so frustrating. And that's where the failure to me for Tony comes in, is he's not recognizing these things. He's not seeing what matchups are favorable for the Giants and trying to utilize those. It seems like he's guessing when he's mixing and matching. It really, really feels like he's guessing. And I don't know how much influence Jace Tingler and Ron Washington are having on him, but it's not enough. His in-game management and pitching moves have not been the greatest. Even last night, Hauser was rolling along last night, or yesterday afternoon. Was that yesterday afternoon with Hauser?
Yeah, yes. Hauser.
Mm-hmm. And he got into the 7th, and the first batter, it was an error on Chapman. And Tony went and pulled Hauser. Now, in my mind, either you pull Hauser after the 6th, get him away feeling great, or you let him work through it in the 7th. But he hasn't earned his chance to work through it in the 7th. So it's kind of brutal to pull him after Matt Chapman makes an error. Like, it's really not something that Hauser did wrong. He got the ground ball.
Yeah. But
he pulls him after that, and Hauser ends up getting the loss instead of walking out of there with at least a no decision and a good feeling about himself. It's just I'm frustrated with Tony. Tony, I do not like the decisions he's been making. He does not seem like a leader of men. He seems more like a leader of boys, and I guess that makes sense because he's a college coach. I mean, have you been as frustrated with him as I have, or am I just overreacting?
Yeah, no, Tony has done it again, as they say. It's extremely frustrating, and I don't know. I know that Ryan Walker, his command has been a huge issue, but also pitch selection, and I haven't been able to watch every game, and so this actually was a highlight to me, and I'm about to play it. Hopefully you hear it, because you heard this just right before we started the show, so I hope the gremlins don't catch me here, but this is Mike Krukow about 5 days ago, even before Ryan Walker's most recent performances, but this was the blow-ups in Philly. But here's Mike Krukow talking with KMBR in the Morning Guys.
Good morning. How are you?
Hey, morning, Mike.
No, I'm not good. Not good at all. It's just I was screaming at the TV set yesterday. You dive into how it all went down, and you get down to two big at bats. One, the second baseman Stott comes up. He's facing Ryan Walker, and in his at bat, he gets 9 consecutive sinkers. 9. Now, Ryan Walker's a two-pitch guy. He's got a two-seam fastball and a slider. End of story. How does he get by with it? Well, a lot of deception and in his delivery, and he's funky, and he's got big-time movement. And he can throw big-time velocity with his two-seamer. He can go anywhere from 94 to 98 miles per hour. All right, great. But what was upsetting was he threw 9 pitches that were the same pitch. So let's go back and review. What is hitting? Timing. What is pitching? It's upsetting the timing of the hitter. That's your goal. Your goal isn't to strike the guy out. Your goal is to take the sting out of his at-bat, to take some of the strength out of his at-bat. When you throw 9 pitches of the same to a big league hitter, he is going to have an excellent chance to barrel your ass. And that's exactly what happened. Stott hits a triple, and then he scores on a sac fly, game over. That was really upsetting. They never even shook off another pitch. And then the other thing, too, was those pitches were called from the bench. You say, all right, well, it's a suggestion. Well, Bailey is an experienced catcher. He called 9 sinkers. And then afterwards, it was asked, and he just said, well, it's a good pitch, and I trust my pitchers. Let's go back to 21, when the Giants were playing the Dodgers in the greatest season ever between the Giants and the Dodgers, where the Giants won 107 games, and the Dodgers won 106. Then they go in and they play each other in a playoff, which was nuts. But what cost him in that ball game was an at-bat that Cody Bellinger had against Camilo Doval. And in that at-bat, where there's a runner in scoring position, he threw 7 sliders. And on the 7th slider, Bellinger hits a base hit up the middle of the run score, and that was the difference in the game. After the game, I asked Gabe Kapler, why did you throw 7 sliders? Why did you not throw? This is a guy that throws 99. Why wouldn't you just mix one in? If not even throw it in the strike zone, just mix one in to cleanse the palate, to get him off of another speed, just to change the look. And he says because that was how the metrics felt was our best opportunity to get him out. So I'm sitting here watching the metrics go down again yesterday. Mm-hmm. And not just in the at-bat with Stott, but it happened in the nightcap when they go up there, and number one, they're facing Schwarber when they shouldn't have. Why? Well, because he had, he was 5 for 6 with 3 walks yesterday. He should never have been pitched to with an open base. But, okay, now you've got Keaton Wynn out there, a 3-pitch guy, a fastball, a slider, and a split. Well, what did he throw? He threw him 7 splits. The same speed. To a guy that's already got 5 hits on the day, and he's been on base 7, or 4 hits on the day, and he's been on base 7 out of 8 times, and then he gets a base hit. So, to me, that is these are questions that have to be answered. And I don't think that they can be explained by the current philosophy, and I think that has to change.
That's a good place to stop there. Yeah, that was pretty powerful from Krukow, of course, is a complete homer for the Giants, and he's usually giving, excuses or passes and like, oh, figure it out. But he was brutally honest there, and he really, he's a freaking former 20-game winner. He knows how to pitch. He's been there. He's done that. And I totally remember the Camilo Duvall at bat against Bellinger when it was 7 straight.
Oh.
I heard you speak up there because you had a lot of issues with Camilo back in the day, but I didn't know that Walker had 9 straight sinkers.
Yeah, I'll never forget 2021 though, screaming at the television, throw a fastball, just throw a fucking fastball.
Yeah.
And he never did when we were in the 5th and 6th and 7th pitch of the at bat. Oh my God, that got me riled up. Walker did that because he didn't trust any of his other pitches. Same thing as Duvall at other time.
Yeah, and that says a lot, right? I mean, of course, timing is what you try to upset as a pitcher. That's 100%. That's the goal, is upset timing. And then location is certainly a part of the equation, but timing is number one. And you throw the same speed over and over and over again, they start to time it. And, that at bat with Schwarber pissed me off because I agree. Yes. There was a base open. They had a lefty and he was hot. So, and then I didn't realize, I forgot how much he threw there, the same speed. But anyway, point is, even though the pitching statistically has not been the key issue with the Giants this year, when they have failed bigly, as someone might say. And it's really exacerbated this stretch here. If they had won those 3 games on the road trip, right? They're sitting now at 17-20. Okay, they're within earshot of 500, and we're complaining about the team, but we're like, okay, it's not the end of the world. They have time, but it's amazing how a 6-game swing, because that's what it is. It's a 6-game swing. Puts you now 9 games under 500 and second worst start in franchise history after 37 games. So it is crucial that these pitchers make, the correct pitch in the position they're given. And of course, the position they're put in should be the appropriate one by the manager. And that doesn't seem to be happening lately. So the Giants are just damned if they do, damned if they don't. And we have answers for the pitching stuff. Don't throw 9 consecutive pitches of the same variety. Don't pitch to a guy who's hot, put him on, when there's an open base, etc. But as far as the hitting, there isn't something I can tell a hitter. I can't go up to Rafi Devers. Believe me, we all know that if they knew the reason, they'd be telling Rafi right now, or Adames, right, or Chapman. I mean, they're all in just prolific, absolutely horrific slumps right now. Devers himself, I mean, he's at a minus 0.9 WAR, so he's on pace for almost a minus 4 WAR for the year. He's hitting .221 with 3 bombs, 15 RBIs, and a .593 OPS. His career OPS is .847, which when you compare it to the league, right, that's an OPS plus 127. So that's far above average. It's not quite elite territory, but it's close. His OPS plus is 70 this year. Anything below 75 is called poor, okay? Like the worst of the worst. They don't have a number below 70 or 75 that they classify. There isn't like, the next category is 60. No, if you're below 75, you're in the worst category of major leaguers. He's in the worst category of hitters right now. I don't know what to say, Eric. We've never seen anything like this, and we thought the Giants fleeced the Red Sox. I don't know about this anymore. It might be turning around.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because there are things like I'd love to say to Devers, hey, man, stop flying open so early. Stop trying to cheat on the ball. Your back shoulder's going down. You're popping everything up. But he's not going to listen to me. I'm just some schmuck sitting in Arizona. But it's this failure as a hitting that puts these pitchers and Tony in these positions to have those problems creep up. I mean, you're right, though. I'm looking at his numbers. This is ridiculous. He struck out 45 times in 151 plate appearances. So that's 1 every 3 times at bat that Devers is going down swinging. And he's getting beat by the fastball, too. It's one thing if you're constantly getting beat by a breaking pitch, something off speed, just something that's the specialty of a pitcher. But they're throwing him challenge fastballs over and over and over again, and he can't do a damn thing with them. It's really tough to watch. And, I don't know what you can do but let him fight through it. I mean, I guess it's kind of like when Steph Curry goes cold. Shooters got to shoot, and you just got to let him shoot.
Yeah, he's never had a stretch like this in his career. And the walks thing, I mean, first of all, I've looked through Baseball Savant with some of these guys. I don't have the stats in front of me. It doesn't really matter. But looking at their bat speed, barrel percentage, contact, all that, they're all blue. They're all in the cold. This is not what they've done in their career, and it's just so frustrating. The walks thing, I don't know either, because it's not like they're facing Cy Young pitchers. That's just who they face every time they face the Marlins or the Orioles or the whatever. It's like, come on, guys. Not only are they dead last in walks with 72, right? The next team, second to last, has 97, Eric. They have 25 more walks in 29th place. What the hell? They're not like, oh, they're just a few behind. They are in a league of their own. Completely a league of their own. The league average is 133. That's almost double. And that's just the league average. 15 teams are better than that. It's incredible to me that this is going on, because that, sets the table for run production. Batting average is partially important, but really you got to look at on-base percentage, because that's how you get your runs. And, get them on, get them over, get them in. And boy, they're just not putting guys on base. I don't have an answer for that either. I don't know why suddenly everybody is crapped to bed and they don't know how to, have a better keen eye. I cannot explain it. Maybe sometimes people chase, they're getting too pensive, they're getting too frustrated, and that can happen to hitters. I remember when I would go in bad slumps, I'd start chasing because I was so frustrated from the slump, and that just exacerbates the whole problem. I'm not suggesting that's happening, but I'd say it's a possibility. I don't know.
Well, they seem to tighten up as the games go on. This Giants team does not seem like the type of team that gets better as the game goes on, when you should against a bullpen. They all just seem to kind of tighten up, and I'm with you. I don't know if they're swinging it too much or what it is that does that, because to have the Cubs after today's game, the Cubs now have 178 walks on the year. So they literally have 106 more walks in roughly the same amount of games than the Giants. And, well, here are the Cubs about to win their, I think, 15th straight game at Wrigley and continue to dominate with their best record since 2016 at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And, look at what just that one little difference makes with 106 extra base runners.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine if the Giants had 106 more opportunities? Because, you didn't list them last in batting average, because they're not.
No.
They're not last in batting average. They're last in getting on base, but they're hitting 238 as a team, which is middle of the pack.
It's middle of the pack.
Exactly. Their slugging, right? Their slugging percentage is towards the bottom, and that's why the OPS is towards the bottom. But if the average is where it's at, some of these hits would be better with guys jamming up the base pass, but they're just not. They're not having guys do that. And then there's no way to get these guys. Some of these guys that are doing it, you got to work on getting them in there as often as possible. But I don't know. It's the third hitting coach in 3 years. We can't blame the hitting coach who's been here for 5 minutes. It's the players. Nope. But why are the players like this? I don't understand it, Chad. Our whole podcast today is I don't get why the Giants are so crappy. Because, I guess we can see the combination of, like I said earlier, veterans with young leadership. But there's also old leadership. So, I don't know if it starts from the top or what it is, but this team does not seem to be well constructed. Maybe we just got a bunch of free swingers on our team, and that's just the way it is. But nobody is helping guide these Giants hitters back into a better role. They all seem to just be swinging from their heels. And the guys that are doing well, Lee when he was hot, Schmidt just the whole season, they're guys that are locked in and know which pitches to swing at. And everybody else just doesn't seem to have as much of a clue of the zone. I can't watch Willie Adames hit. It is so frustrating.
Yeah, it's been pretty brutal. I did want to correct something I had, because I was putting some of these notes last night. Obviously, the Mets beat the Rockies last night, so technically the Giants and Rockies are tied now exactly at 14 and 23 for the worst record, because the Mets went a half game ahead. That said, the Rockies and Mets are actually tied 2-2 in the 7th right now, so they're duking it out to see who can get worse than the Giants. So, if the Rockies lose, the Giants will currently not be the worst team. If the Mets lose, then the Mets and Giants will be tied for the worst record. Not that that matters to anyone out there, but just clarifying that. I will say, though, also their run differential is worst in the major leagues at minus 42. Minus 42. The Orioles are at 36. The Astros are at 37. Those are the two closest teams to them. The Rockies are at 29. The Mets are at 24. Reds are at 25. These are minus, of course. So yeah, but then you have the Yankees at plus 81, the Braves at plus 79, Dodgers plus 77. So it gives you that spread, and you were just talking about the Cubs as well. Cubs are plus 45, so not quite that juggernaut, but they've won 8 in a row, and like you said, 15 at home, 25 and 12. I mean, that's just disgusting. Braves are 26 and 12.
Now 26. They just finished off a 4-game sweep with Cincinnati.
Yeah, Yankees
literally
are
just
26 and 12.
2 minutes ago.
Just incredible. Some of these teams are just doing so well right now. But the Giants, I think we can safely say now they are not making the playoffs. And I don't think I would have ever said that, except for maybe 2017, this short into the season. But this team isn't going to get much better. They're going to have their flashes. Some of these players are going to have better weeks. But, I mean, I don't know. What do you think? We talked about this. I texted you, too, about this. Tony Vitello is only on a 1-year contract right now. And, Posey and management, they've never struck me as the overreactionaries. Meaning, like, you see some teams fire managers a quarter of the way into the season. They're just like, you're out of here. I don't see that happening necessarily, but, I mean, let's just, for argument's sake, say that they're just as bad. They're on pace for 102 losses, and that's where they are at the All-Star break. Do they make a change then, or do they just let Vitello finish out the season, say they lost 95 to 100-something games, and then they can his ass? I mean, I can't see he makes year number 2 if they are that poor for this year. But do you think there's any chance that he could be fired midseason?
I mean, I want to say no because, like you said, they're not, an overreaction type top of the organization. But if it's just ugly and they feel like he is the reason, then I can see it being done. But I can also see Zach and Buster tinkering with the roster a little bit first to, quote, give Tony a chance, which is what they did by calling up Eldridge and Rodriguez. And, I mean, they could look into making other moves. I texted this to you guys the other day. Casey Schmidt it's not just that he's on fire. Casey Schmidt is playing like a above-average Major League Baseball player. Mm-hmm. And he needs to be in the lineup every single day. And he is blocked at every single position in the infield, which is frustrating. So, yes, he's been in there for Arise the last 2 days, but Arise's hand is hurt. Right. He hurt it in the first game against Cincinnati. He kind of rolled on it or something on a slide. So I get it. He's out, and Chapman not Chapman, thinking ahead, obviously. Schmidt is spelling him for a couple days, but you got to figure out a way to get Schmidt regular playing time. So I think it's time to consider trading one of the veterans in the infield. And Adames just came in last year on a huge deal. They just made the big trade for Rafi Devers less than a year ago. So to me, an Arise is the best hitter, if not the best overall ball player on the team, aside from Casey Schmidt. So then your eyes kind of turn to Matt Chapman. Mm-hmm. And you have to wonder if the Giants would consider trading him to a contender like Philly or the Yankees who have third base needs. And Chapman might like going to a contender. He hit a ball yesterday that was caught in Triple's Alley. And all I could think when he hit it was that would have been a homer in Philly or Yankee Stadium. And maybe Chapman's getting a little frustrated hitting at Oracle Park because he's just been awful. Yes, I understand that he walks, but he's just been awful at the plate. He hasn't been able to drive anything aside from that, which was probably a homer in 29 out of 30 parks. So, I mean, I don't think that they fire Tony until after they tinker a little bit. And I think one of those ways they could tinker is exploring trading Matt Chapman. Now, he has a full no trade clause, so he would have to okay it. But I don't see a world where Matt Chapman would say no to a trade to the Yankees or Phillies or any other contender where he feels like he, can maybe get put in the middle of a lineup of a really good team. Because right now he's batting fourth on the crappiest team in baseball, and he's one of the crappier hitters on the team, and he is not helping them at all. I mean, what do you think about that? That would help Eldridge get some more at-bats too, because, Devers can play third base if something happens with Schmidt or somebody else in the infield gets injured. They have possibilities. And, so what do you think? Would you consider trading Chapman? Is he the only guy to think about? Or are there other guys they can think about?
Now, it's a good segue into this portion because I wanted to talk about Eldridge. Like, exactly, how do they handle him? We talked about this at the beginning of the season. we thought it was going to be tough because of the way the roster is constructed right now. You have these big contracts at all these positions, and how are they going to get them in there? But Schmidt, to his credit, has been incredible. He's absolutely been the Giants' number one hitter in the first quarter of the season. No doubt about it. Arias is probably just behind him. Arias has been fun to watch. He is I love how he watches the ball all the way in, and he can just like flick his wrist at a ball outside of the zone and flick it into the outfield. It's very Tony Gwynn-esque, it's just fun to watch. I love it. And his play at second base, by the way, it is right now with defensive runs saved and the other metrics, it's above average. So he's really upped his defensive game too. So I really like Rise, and I do recognize his hand's hurt right now. So that kind of solved some of the issue in the last 2 games against the Padres. But that's how they handled it, right? Yeah. In the 3 games versus the Padres, Eldridge was a DH in all 3 games. Schmidt played third base the first game for Chappie, who was sat down, and then second base the next 2 games. Chappie was out game 1, played third base in games 2 and 3, and Rise only played in game 1. But Chappie is 2 for his last 29. That's an 0.69.
It's actually 31.
Average. 31.
Yeah,
okay, wow.
When I saw that, I had just randomly gone to his game logs and done that's in the last 8 games. So Chappie has played 8 of the last 9 Giants games, and they lost all 8. The only one he didn't play in was Monday when they won.
That's funny. Okay, so 2 for 31. I mean, this is he's getting pretty bad. He's down 230 something for the season. He's just not, the power hitter that we were hoping he was going to be. But like you said, part of it is the park. He probably got frustrated. That said, they signed him to the extension, and he was happy to be in San Francisco. He loves it here. He said that, and he has a no trade clause. Right. So I would be surprised if Chapman changed his mind in such a short amount of time, because there is so much time of the season left, and I know he knows he can turn his own, year around. I don't know about the team. I don't know if he had aspirations of this team going to the World Series either. So I don't know if he'd be willing to waive the no-trade clause. I think it would have to be the right situation. Like you said, a team he likes that's going to the playoffs. That would be the only way, of course, it's going to work. But I think it's an idea worth considering, because right now nothing is sticking, and they pulled one emergency button or cord, which was calling up Eldridge, but let's be honest, that's not exactly going to be saving the season. And already Eldridge is 1 for 9 in 3 games, so it's not like he came up and tore the cover off the ball. I mean, he was doing great in AAA. I hope Eldridge doesn't turn out to be one of those quad A players, where he mashes in AAA and he can't hit for crap in the major leagues. You see it happen. I just hope it's not with him. There's nothing else in AAA that's going to save him. And so I think they do have to rely on just 2 things. One is these guys figuring it out themselves and coming back to somewhat their means are, or 2, they got to make a move. They're not going to be sending Rafael Devers down to AAA to work it out. They're not going to be saving Willie Damas down to Sacramento to work it out. This is not happening. So,
and those are like untradeable contracts. Matt Chapman's contract seems like more of a tradable contract, or even a Patrick Bailey seems like somebody that if they could get something for would be somebody I'd be willing for the Giants to part with, especially if Jesus Rodriguez is going to be here to stay. I love what I've seen from this guy at the plate so far. Right field, not so much, but at the plate, he's been fantastic.
Yeah, no, he had his first hit, RBI, and home run. Which was great.
Yep.
And he hit it to right field, too. His home run. That was insane. Right off the
and if you trade Bailey, then he can stay behind the plate. You don't have to worry about putting him in the outfield.
Yep.
That was another dumb decision by Tony. Was Jesus Rodriguez. So the guy has played catcher, third base, left field. He's never played right field. Oh, okay. So let's start him in what's pretty much known as the hardest right field in all of baseball to play in. All right, cool. I get it. You want to get his bat in the lineup. You totally do. Makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, but then it's the 7th inning, and it's a 1-1 ball game. And you're scared to take out Rodriguez because he has only 1 of 2 hits that day for your team. So you're like, okay, we'll leave him out there in right field. And then on a play that had a batting average expectancy of .055, Jesus Rodriguez dives for a ball he should have just run through and caught, that any outfielder would have just run through and caught, and the ball skips past him, scores 2 runs, and the Padres take the lead that they'll never give back.
Yeah.
That's again Tony putting a player in a position to fail. Now, you could have yanked him for defensive help. Drew Gilbert and Jung-Hoo Lee could have taken over and right. Jung-Hoo Lee could have moved to right. You could have put Gilbert in center. You could have moved Rodriguez to left if you were that worried about it, and put Ramos in right because he's actually been there before in the first place. But no, let's throw the rookie kid in his third game who caught the 2 nights before out to right field, the hardest right field to play in baseball. Sorry, I didn't mean to get back on Tony, but that just was another thing that highlighted it for me. But I mean, if you think about it, you could get rid of a Bailey and a Chapman to make room for Rodriguez and some more at bats for Schmidt, and then in turn would be more at bats for Eldridge.
Yeah.
Eldridge is too young. He's 21. He is getting eaten alive on sliders, pounding in on his hands. He's not taking the pitch when it's running inside on him. He's swinging at it, and he's shattered 2 or 3 bats already. So I think we just got to give him time to figure it out at the big league level. But hey, he did take a walk in his first game, so that was progress because the Giants didn't take a single walk each of the last 2 games.
They did not.
They walked 3 times on Monday, and they didn't walk at all the last 2 games. And lo and behold, they lost those games. So it's frustrating. But Eldridge, yeah, I think – I'm with you. You don't want to just stick him at DH. You want to keep him involved. It'd be really nice if Eldridge could play the outfield, wouldn't it? I could see him getting starts in left field for Ramos on certain days. If he had more versatility, he'd get more at bats. But I think he's kind of stuck as the DH unless they swap him and Rafi for a day.
Yeah, unless they swap. I think that's what you're going to see for the next week is just, if Ariza's hand is still bothering him, he might take another day or 2 off. So that solves that situation. They give Rafi a day off. And this is a guy who, by the way, played 163 games last year, right? So he's not a guy who normally, he doesn't want to take days off, right? And he's a third baseman / first baseman. So same issue. And he can DH, of course. But yeah, if he takes over at first base, then Rafi's like, what's up with me? It's hard because, a lot of these guys have their personalities and Rafi in the Boston, issue was there. So I think there might be some recognition of, hey, we might not want to step on his toes and piss him off because it could really snowball from there. I don't know. I'm totally, this is just me guessing and supposing things right now. But what do you do with these guys that just aren't hitting? You got to give them some time off. Maybe they just got to go think about it. Maybe realize that their jobs could be potentially in jeopardy, even if they have these massive contracts. I don't know. But with Buster Posey and ownership and management, we were obviously very hopeful and positive and looking forward to the change from Farhan to a little bit more traditional way of running things instead of the revolving door of all these diamonds in the rough that he tried to get. And happy to see some of the trades he's executed because at first on paper they looked great. But I think now that we look past the last couple of years, you can't really hang your hat on a lot of great decisions that Buster and company have made. And to me, that's frustrating, number one, as a fan. But number two, Buster has a lot of leash in his rope, and I'm not at all suggesting right now they're thinking about making a change. All I'm saying is that if this were to continue for another couple of years, spending $200 million on a last place team, a change will be made. I'm guarantee it. It's just they're not going to stand for that, and they're putting a lot of money into this team. And, it's one thing to not make the playoffs. It's another thing to be the worst team in the league. That's just unacceptable. It's just absolutely unacceptable.
I think fans need to start showing their displeasure by not coming to games. I've never really advocated it in the past before, but like a day like yesterday seemed like an okay time to boo your team. And I know Willie's very adamant that you don't boo your own team. But you're not always booing the players. You're kind of booing management too, because it's been an absolute failure top to bottom. It's not just booing Rafi Devers because the guy is popping out every time up. It's booing Buster Posey, Zach Menazen, and the whole front office for setting the Giants up to be like this. And so I think if fans stay away, if the Giants continue to stink and fans stay away from the ballpark, I hope that sends enough of a message. Yeah.
Obviously, I don't want fans to give up on the team. I don't want to give up on the team, but I understand what you're saying. It's kind of like that would send more of a message. It's like some of the ownership shall we say, are just a little bit more interested in the ROI, right? They're worried about the deals they can make for the patches on the sleeves, the local, real estate deals, the amount of money that ticket sales and food are bringing in, etc. They don't necessarily care as much about the performance of the team.
Right.
So maybe, not showing up. Huh?
Right. Yeah, so hurt that.
Yeah, so hurt
Hit the
that,
bottom
exactly.
line.
Hit the bottom line.
Right.
So some
Don't
of these
buy
other
the beers.
owners,
Don't buy the expensive beers. Don't buy the expensive. Hurt the bottom line. That's the only way this ownership's going to feel it.
Yeah, because some of these guys don't care as much about the performance on the field. So yeah, once they start seeing their performance in their bank account start going down, maybe they'll go, "Hey, what's going on here?" So I don't know. It's it's going to be interesting, and I think we won't delve into it now. But I know there's been a recent investment group that was involved in some political history. Again, I'm not going to get into it, and some fans have been upset about that as well. So. Maybe not all the right decisions are being made right now. And us personally, we've been affected by decisions from management, the way they've changed on how they interact with the community in terms of, podcasts and blogs and smaller outlets. They've completely shut all those off that they had open for the better part of, 12, 13 years. Just a lot of these changes and decisions just don't make sense, or they're not bearing fruit. And, this team looks a lot different than it did 5 years ago, let alone 10 in their heyday, when we were rolling in it and everything was sunshine and rainbows. It is not right now. It is not. This is definitely a bit of a darker time in San Francisco Giants, baseball. That said, they have 3/4 of the season left to try and, somewhat right the ship. I mean, look, 9 games over 120 can absolutely be made up, because I think that's the goal right now, is to just not finish in the cellar and to try to get to 500. Try to get to 500. I mean, that's just goal number 1 right now. And we'll see where the next couple of weeks take them. They got, I was going to do the who's hot and who's not, but really had Schmidt over the last week. He was 323 with 2 and 5. Who's not was pretty much everyone. Chappie, you said 2 for 31. Lee, 133. Adama's 167. Ramos, 212. We could throw some more people in there as well. Webb, who we didn't even get to, but I don't want to make this podcast, over an hour today. Webb had he had a great outing 2 outings ago, and then he laid in it again this last one. I don't know what's going on with him, but it's one of his worst starts of his entire career. So kind of concerned about that as well. But they got 3 against Pittsburgh coming in. Pittsburgh has not been playing well. I don't know if that matters against the Giants, because the Giants took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers and then got swept by the crappy Phillies. So who knows, right? It's baseball. And speaking of the Dodgers, they go right down to Chavez Ravine after the Pirates, and they also continue with 6 more games on that road trip. So it's not necessarily getting easier going back on the road after a really quick 6-game homestand against the Padres, which they lost 2 out of 3 after losing 6 in a row on the road. But I didn't look. Do they? Who are they facing on the mound for the Pirates?
Well, Skeens pitched yesterday, so they're not going to have to face Skeens. So Paul Skeens will have to wait for another day to get his first no-hitter.
Well, that's one nugget of good news, because Skeens has been obviously extremely hot lately. So.
So far the names of the pitchers I've seen are something Ashcraft, something Modlinski, and then Sunday game, something Chandler, some guy who was 1 and 4. But it doesn't seem to matter. The Padres pitcher yesterday came into the game with an over 9 ERA.
Yeah.
And basically shut the Giants down.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And it's funny because no, it doesn't. This Giants-Pirates matchup is between 2 teams tied for last place in their division. Yeah. Yet the Pirates are 20 and 17, and the Giants are not.
Yeah. We did see some good stuff from Trevor McDonald this week. That was one of the bright spots. Now, he's been up and down with the Giants a couple of times before, and what his bugaboo has always been is walks. He's walked 4 or 5 per 9. So that's kind of what's been keeping him out of the majors. But he didn't even walk a single guy in his 7 innings. So that was fantastic. So I know he was sent back down to AAA to make room on the roster, but, it might be someone they, are going to bounce back up and down a couple of times, and if he is more consistent, maybe he'll stick, because he's got some good stuff. I like his presence on the mound. He's when things are going well, I should say. If things are sailing, it's obviously a different story.
Well, fun fact: Trevor McDonald pitched in the first game Bryce Eldridge played last season, and then Trevor McDonald pitched in the first game Bryce Eldridge played this season.
I did not,
and I believe it was the first game for both of them in the big leagues in each of those 2 seasons. Huh. Yeah, because I remember when I saw that he was starting, I looked up. I'm like, Trevor McDonald. I'm like, I think we saw him in Arizona.
Yeah.
And then I opened up his game logs, and sure enough, his debut came in Arizona along with Bryce Eldridge's, and then we had the exact same thing. So. Apparently they'll be tied at the hip in my mind forever now.
I didn't realize that. Oh, cool. Not a lot of the way in transactions other than the aforementioned Rodriguez and Eldridge. Harrison Bader is on a rehab assignment in Sacramento. They activated Peguero from the 15-day IL. We didn't mention this. Gerard Encarnacion DFA'd. So no longer there. So that's fine. It's whatever.
Did you see the ABS challenge in Tampa? He challenged a strike call that was pretty much right down the middle.
Yes, I did.
The pitch was called a strike, and he challenged it, and it was. I mean, that okay. He just I'm glad it's gone.
Yeah, there's been the one thing that ABS has provided is the correction of the most egregious calls. And we already talked about this, but also entertainment in the stands and on TV. It's kind of fun to ooh, what's behind door number 2? And you see if it's going to be a great call or just that's when it's embarrassing, right? It's embarrassing to the umpire when it's 6 inches outside and they called it a strike, or it's embarrassing for the player when they're tapping Chisholm. Oh my God, Jazz Chisholm. He is already one of the most notoriously worst ABS challengers ever. He's done 9 of them this year, and he's been wrong 8 times. And some of them have been those egregious ones where he just taps the head, and they're like, dude, that was almost down the middle. What are you thinking? But it's been providing a lot of fun in that regard. I think they got to tell batters to chill it unless it is, again, late in game or so egregious. You are 100% confident that ball was 4 inches outside or inside or high or whatever, you cannot be wasting challenges on something that you think. And if you go back to the dugout and they're like, what the hell were you doing? I could have sworn it was outside. Then you are the problem. You don't have a good eye. I'm sorry. You're not good at this.
Yes.
You're just
Gerard is proof of that now.
Yeah. And you should just okay, I know obviously these metrics departments on teams keep track of all this stuff. We see most of it online, but just internally speaking, they might get to a point where they're telling some of these players, okay, you are 1 for 10. You can't challenge anymore. That's it. You're done. Don't challenge anymore. And if you do, we'll fine you or something like that in kangaroo court, at least, because it's been entertaining, but yeah, not much else going on as far as transactions. A list of some minor leaguers and things of that nature, but I won't get into it right now. But like I said, 3 versus the Pirates, and then 3 at the Dodgers. I think that's going to do it for episode 338. Let's see. Who do we have to maybe wrap up the Pirates? Because we never did a wrap-up last time, did we? Oh, anyway.
No, we didn't.
So expect to wrap up a season. See, let's recap the season right now, Eric.
Let's not.
We're not... Let's not. No, we're gonna have a series recap after
to do today.
Pittsburgh.
I don't want to be depressed all day.
I know, and you know what? I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. Because obviously not as many people listen to the podcast when they're doing poorly. I understand, and thank you for the ones that are, a glutton for punishment. But if the Giants get destroyed and lose all 3 against Pittsburgh, there may not be a series recap. Just saying. I'm being very honest with you guys.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. But that'll do it for episode 338. You can find everything at torturecast.com. You can follow us individually at ChadK21, at 2 Out Hits for Eric with the number 2, or at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook. So I know Willie has the MGA, the Mediocre Golf Association, still going on. You might want to Google that if you're kind of an average to mediocre golfer, because I did play in that for a season. It was actually a lot of fun. I just couldn't keep up with them. With those guys, man, they put it away. There's a lot of drinking and a lot of tomfoolery. So if you like that stuff, go for it. It was just a little too much for me, but it's definitely a good time. Eric, anything you want to report out?
No. No, I got nothing going on. Just I'm tired of getting excited to watch a Giants game and then have to watch crap.
Right?
It's so annoying. Yesterday I had the day off, and I was like, all right, cool. I can wake up, make coffee, watch the Giants. I got the Vegas Knights later on. Nice, good, chill sports day.
Sure.
And then the Giants sucked. Then the Knights sucked. It was not as fun of a day as I'd hoped for. But no, I have nothing personally to promote, nothing really going on. Just hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, all those locations.
I remember, growing up, my parents weren't the best cooks. I'm much better than them. And it would be like, well, the last couple meals were really crappy. Maybe tonight's dinner will be better. Then I was disappointed. Same thing with going on some... That's kind of what it is watching Giants baseball these days. You get a little excited. Yep. Maybe it'll be a good game tonight. And then you're disappointed. So, it's the same overcooked pork chops. What the hell is going on? I don't like this. But I'll eat it. All right. Well, that'll do it for Willie, for Eric. This is Chad signing off. We'll see you for the series recap and or what is that? Episode 339 next week after the Dodger series. All right. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Go Giants? ? Boom.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.